Welcome back, Nerd Squad. I love talking about the 90s, so I am super psyched to be bringing you this list today, where we will be discussing heroes that originated in the 1990s, and maybe one or two that weren't really born in the 90s, but definitely did thrive there. For a lot of the superheroes, the 90s were a not so kind time. Marvel and DC seemed to be fueled during this decade by just straight up selling comics, and they went to some outrageous lengths to do so. Remember Spider-Man? Remember the Spider-Man clone saga? Ugh. What a time to have been following the Marvel continuity. Anyways, the heroes on this list have to worry about less of the typical 90s drama, as they are some of the strongest heroes to come out of the era. Literally, strong. Proving that with some cringe-worthy moments, we also got some great stuff from this decade as well. If you want to hear more lists based on the 90s comic book world, let us know in the comments below. Anyone want a 90s superhero themed cartoon list? Cause I got you if you do. Alright, let's get counting. Number 10. Gambit. This X-Men was one that was born in the 90s. I'm not gonna lie, I thought I would have had a slew of X-Men coming out of the 90s for you, but surprisingly, Gambit is actually one of the few X-Men 90s babies. Rounding out our number 10 spot, Gambit is a character who is kind of underrated. When a lot of people think of him, they just think of a guy throwing cards. But his real ability, and the reason why he wears those weird, partially fingerless gloves, is that he can basically explosively charge items through touch. He typically goes with cards because they are quick to charge, and these powers work on a molecular level. What does that mean? It means he can not only charge objects but also dissolve objects, making them molecularly fall apart, so to speak. So yes, he is pretty powerful, and yes, those gloves are not just a weird 90s fashion choice. Number 9. Copycat. Also known as Vanessa Carlyle, you might recognize this character as Deadpool's girlfriend in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and she was also in fact his girlfriend for a while in the comics too. But did you know that she is actually a mutant? Yes! In fact, if they had turned her into a mutant in the MCU, she probably would have been a member of Deadpool's X-Force in Deadpool 2. A difference from her cinematic counterpart is she actually has blue skin and white hair. Her abilities allow her to mimic any person on the level of Mystique, except that she can only shapeshift into other humans, and her powers work on the genetic level of things, meaning she can also adopt others' powers and abilities. In fact, it has also been insinuated that she can even replicate others' memories, in effect completely becoming them. She can also make her own avatars, effectively making it easier for her to just shed her identity. She was introduced in the New Mutants under the guise of Domino, another hero actually born in the 90s. Number 8. Power Rangers. Okay, I know they're not in the comics, but I have to give the Mighty Morphin Teenagers with Attitude some love. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TV show first aired in 1993. The original team featured Jason Lee, the Red Ranger, the leader of the group, Zach Taylor, the Black Ranger, often second in command, Trini Kwan, the Yellow Ranger, Kimberly Hart, the Pink Ranger, and Billy Cranston, the Blue Ranger. The teens go through everyday life at school, coping with schoolwork, bullies like Bulge and Skull, and they just work out a lot. Like, a lot. When they are not living their everyday lives, they are the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, here to defend the world from supervillainous threats like ancient sorceress Rita Repulsa. If you love the 90s, I'm sure you agree that when they team up with their Zords and are armed with their Megazord, they can be pretty powerful. Number 7. Deadpool. Everyone's favorite merc with a mouth. Except for those characters within the Marvel Universe, as Sasha pointed out in her list about heroes who deserve the hate. Deadpool was first introduced in the New Mutants series in 1991. Since then, his character has grown immensely in popularity, despite being, well, more of an anti-hero and mercenary/assassin for hire. Most of his commercial success is owed to the portrayal of him on the silver screen, and Ryan Reynolds for bringing his character back to the silver screen after his awful appearance in X-Men Origins Wolverine, where he was actually also played by Reynolds. Deadpool is definitely a force to be reckoned with, and a character who has been responsible for the death of the Marvel Universe twice. Number 6. Batman. Wait a minute. Didn't Batman originate in the 1930s? You're right, he did. But do you know what originated with him in the 90s? The Batman animated series! What? with Kevin Conroy voicing Batman and Bruce Wayne, and Mark Hamill voicing the Joker. This animated series has some of the best voice actor performances ever, and with Batman being one of the strongest heroes I know in regards to capability and strong will, I had to include him and, more importantly, the series in the list. For many people, cartoons were their first introduction to the comic book world, and got kids who maybe had never actually read a comic book in the 90s to get them interested in reading them, and maybe even reading in general. Yay, the power of the spoken word! The show featured a slew of amazing episodes, including Almost Got 'Em, where the villains get to tell their side of the story in regards to their run-in with the Bat, Mad Love, and Demon's Quest, where we see the Batman dance with a worthy rival and criminal Ra's al Ghul. Number 5. Hellboy. That's right, Hellboy came out of the 90s too. He made his first appearance in 1993 in San Diego Comic-Con's comics number 2. Yay, Comic-Con! And his comics have been published by Dark Horse Comics. Rooted in the world of the paranormal and horror, he is a half-demon who is summoned from hell by Nazi occultists. However, he was only a baby at the time, and when he was discovered by Allied forces, Professor Trevor Brutenholm decided to take him in and raise him as a son. Sort of. The professor had never had a child before, so he did his best to give him a normal upbringing, while also founding the BPRD, Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense. Hellboy ended up also working for the BPRD as the years went on, and as an adult he is portrayed as having a wry humor and being somewhat gritty and messy. Being half demon, he still has an undetermined level of strength and resilience, but he has also been shown to be super sturdy and strong in both the comics and films, as well as having a rapid healing factor, and he has disease immunity. 2 films created by Guillermo del Toro, as well as a recent reboot with Neil Marshall at the directing helm, have been made about this anti-hero and his comic series. Number 4. Spawn. You knew it was coming. I cannot make a 90s superhero list and not include Spawn. Or would we call him more an anti-hero? I wonder. He has some anti-hero vibes for sure. Spawn is the main character of the comic series by the same name, which came out in 1992. The series, published by Image, was almost instantly popular, selling 1.7 million copies. And in fact, the comic is still going strong today, with its popularity increasing and decreasing over time, but cyclically coming back to great sales every now and then. In fact, Spawn is once again on the upswing. If you're not familiar with Spawn, you should not only read the series, but also go watch the film and get this HBO animated series, which also came out in the 90s. Yay! HBO should actually make more adult targeted animated series, because Spawn was really good. This character's name was originally Al Simmons, who returned to Earth from hell after being murdered by his best friend, who then took his place. He made a deal with basically the devil, that allowed him to return to the land of the living as one of his hell spawns, granting him necroplasmic powers. Fun fact, the movie version when I watched it as a kid reminded me of Ghost. To me, the Spawn film was like a spooky superhero version of Ghost with Patrick Swayze. Number 3. Superboy. Commonly referred to as Experiment 13 in the comics, Superboy was originally introduced in the Adventures of Superman series in 1993. He is a sort of clone of Superman. What he really is a human clone made to look like Superman, as the Cadmus Project, which originally created him, could not actually get access to Superman's DNA via his corpse, as he was dead at the time. So instead, they made a clone and they had it hang out near Superman's corpse. This resulted in the clone developing Superman's powers, but not being a genetic Kryptonian, which makes him pretty unique. The teenage leather jacket wearing Experiment 13 also developed a unique power as a result, referred to as tactile telekinesis, which basically involved a force field of sorts that protected him from getting tears in his uniform or getting dirty. Yeah, pretty specific power. He received his name Kon-El after Superman called him to his Fortress of Solitude, and in Superman Volume 4, Issue 59, confessed that he thought of Superboy like a family member and offered him a Kryptonian name. Aw, super family love. Number 2. Silver Surfer. Well, Silver Surfer himself was actually introduced in 1966 to the comics in the Fantastic Four series. I wanted to talk about his 1990s animated series. Yeah, did you know the Silver Surfer had an animated series all to himself? And it was good too. It only had 1 season, but was sort of critically acclaimed at the time. One thing that it did really well was embody Jack Kirby's style. Jack Kirby was actually the creator of Silver Surfer and was responsible for that iconic cosmic surfboard, which he decided to draw and create because he was tired of drawing spaceships for cosmic characters in Marvel. The series blended cel shading and computer animation to get its unique look, which was pretty fancy fancy at the time. And I still think it actually holds up quite well today. The series follows the Silver Surfer's space adventures, including his transformation from Norrin Radd to the Silver Surfer upon meeting and agreeing to become Galactus' Herald. The show also features such alien races as the Skrull and Kree, and characters as Adam Warlock, Nova, Mentor, and even Gamora, and is narrated by the Watchers. Number 1. Kismet. First appearing in the Adventures of Superman, Kismet is an all-powerful cosmic entity. She often serves as a protector of Superman in the DC universe and is often also a protector of the DC universe as a whole as well. She is omnipotent and can control time and space. She doesn't pop up often in the comics, but when she does, her power is apparent. During the crossover event JLA/Avengers and Avengers/JLA, she fell in love with the cosmic entity belonging to the Marvel Universe, Eternity, who is kind of like her Marvel equivalent. Cute. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. I had a really fun time making this list, so I hope you enjoyed watching it. Who are your favorite superhero staples of the 90s? Who do you remember standing out the most for you during that decade? And what are some of your favorite 90s comic storylines? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're on your way down there, remember to click that like, tap that subscribe, ring our bell, and share. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you as always to stay nerdy, YouTube.